The prophet Malachi said, "But for you who fear my name," God said through the prophet Malachi, "For you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall rise with healing in its wings. You shall go out leaping like calves from the stall." Paul said in the book of Ephesians that you and I are called to let the light of Jesus rise on us like a sunrise. He said, "Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of the things that they do in secret, but when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light. Therefore it says," and scholars are baffled about what he's quoting there. It's what he's quoting here. It's probably an ancient Christian hymn. "Therefore it says, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Dear friends, are you walking in the sunrise light of Jesus today? Are you walking in the light of Christ? Zechariah bursts into song here because he knows that with the coming of Jesus, the people of God are at last going to be redeemed from their enemies. Finally, after all of our prayers, all of our waiting, the mighty horn and sunrise of salvation is here. Zechariah knew that God had finally visited his people, episkeptomai, but he didn't know how he was going to do it. Exactly, at least. And if all we had was this song of Zechariah, we might assume that the horn of salvation, Jesus, was going to ride through Judea, piercing through all of God's enemies. That he was going to come with a mighty sword, conquering the wicked, putting them down, putting them to death. But instead, what does Jesus do? He doesn't charge God's enemies like the mighty oryx. He's pierced by God's enemies like a helpless lamb. You know, one of the most beautiful images of Jesus that's given to us in the scriptures, I think, comes at the very end of the Bible in the book of Revelation. It's a picture of Jesus that John, the apostle, paints for us in Revelation chapter 5. It's really been confusing for a lot of people. But listen to what he said as he had this vision of Jesus. Revelation chapter 5, verse 6. He says, "Between the thrones and the four living creatures and among the elders, I saw a lamb standing as though it had been slain, with 7 horns and with 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth." Now think about that picture for a minute. In the ancient world, a horn is a symbol of strength, power. The number 7 in the Bible is the number of perfection, or the number of completion. Usually when we think about strength, a strong animal, we think of the oryx or a lion or a tiger or maybe a big, strong elephant. If you want to be depicted as strong, make yourself big. Give yourself as many teeth as possible, right? Claws. But what we find is that God's horn of salvation is seen by John in this vision as if he wasn't even a full-grown sheep. He's a baby lamb. And yet this baby lamb has 7 horns, which means that he's perfectly powerful. And he's standing, but he had been slain. The baby that Zechariah rejoices over is going to grow up to be pierced by the enemies of God, led like a 7-horned lamb to the slaughter. And he doesn't just have 7 horns in that vision in Revelation 5. He has 7 eyes. 7 eyes that make Jesus the perfect bishop and overseer of our souls. 7 eyes that allow him to say, "I see you. I see you. And I want to visit you." This morning, brothers and sisters, God sees us. He's visited us with his salvation, with the sunrise from on high, and he calls us to lay hold of his grace once again, freely offered through his Son, Jesus, who was pierced for our transgressions. Amen?